Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today I'm going to be talking about DK socks. So I've started making DK socks this summer. I saw a lot of people doing knitting podcasts about it, and it seems like something that you can do if you have some leftover sock yarn and want to hold it double. And I thought, okay, those will go fast. That's a fun idea. Let me try it. So I tried it. So I bought Summer Lee's Thicksgiving sock pattern. Summer Lee is a really good designer, and she's very thorough. So you get like 4 sizes. You get really detailed information about gauge. She often does more than one sock in a set. That's definitely true for Thicksgiving. It's also true with the Hello Sailor sock set. You get, in all of her socks, or not all of them, but oftentimes there's like 2 or 3 in a set, and they're not very expensive. It's like the price of one pattern and you're getting 3 or 4. So like in the Hello Sailor set, she definitely has more than one heel option too, which is surprising. I'm thinking about those because I'm wearing my Broken Rope socks today. In Garth and Organic. It's finally cold enough to wear wool. This is my Kakalori sweater. You've probably, if you follow my channel, you've seen my videos on how I made this. I'm really pleased that it's finally kind of chilly enough to be wearing it because it's so cozy. Anyway, so the Thicksgiving socks. So I bought the Thicksgiving pattern and I decided to make the Thicksgiving socks in the ribbed version. I did a heel, flap, and gusset, and this is the pair that I made. So Summer Lee recommends using 2 different marled yarns, which is what I did here. I used Leading Men Fiber Arts something sock, the 75-25 blend anyway, and the Grapes of Wrath is the kind of purpley mauvey thing, and then the white with these like neon speckles of green, that's the Farmer's Daughter's Sock Squad from April. It's called Lone Larch, I think. I had used it for a pair of socks, and 75-25 is just, you get so much yardage. And there was a mini that I used. I made the Altitude socks by Helen Stewart from the Handmade Sock Society season 3 with those. I should have brought them. They're here. They're sitting in storage. I haven't taken everything out of storage from the moth-proof bags, but that's where they are. Anyway, those, I had like almost half a skein left, and I thought, okay, I can probably do this with half a skein. I managed. I had a little less than half a skein of each of these. I found that for my size, doing about 40 rounds on the leg, and then it's like about another 60 rounds total for the foot. That uses under 50 grams for sure, especially if you do contrast toes, heels, and cuffs. Definitely for my size, which is a women's 7.5, it was under 50 grams. So anyway, I knit these on a size 2.5, and I thought, okay, most people use a size 3. I knit a little bit looser. And you know what, but they're ribbed, so I'm gonna knit the size large. I'm not gonna knit the traditional size I would knit for myself. They're a little big. I mean, they're not too long, obviously. I knit them to the length of my foot, but they are a little bit, they're a little, a little wide. So, okay, this was the first pair. Oh, and then this, let's see, this orange, the lighter orange, is also 75-25 from the Farmer's Daughters. This was the color from January, the orange, the main color. Also had lots of leftovers. And then the orangey one was the mini from May, which is a yak sock base. And it came with a teal. And I actually have seen projects on Ravelry that used both the teal, it was a kind of a deep teal, with this kind of coppery mini, but I didn't want to use those together. So they're not, I had the whole mini, all 20 grams. Didn't use 20 grams of each of these quite yet. Anyway. I'm going to do some more kind of record keeping of how many yards I'm using and what sock weight I'm using, and like how many yards it is based on the weight and all that stuff as I continue. So did these in the summer, thought that was fun. There's a close up. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you can, with 2 kind of marled yarns already, it's definitely, the marling is smoother. And in Summer Lee's pattern, she almost always uses hedgehog fibers when she's doing marling, and those are just beautiful. A lot of those are variegated. A lot of them have lots of different beautiful colors, and you can do these beautiful blends. So anyway, I was pleased with this. But I put them away for a while. I thought I'll do some more of those later. Okay, so attempt number 2. This was last week, 2 weeks ago. Attempt number 2. I went up a needle size. I went to a size 3. And I did 48 stitches. And this one I used 56 stitches maybe? I think 56 stitches. Because I think you got to do it in multiples of 8. And you don't theoretically have to, but the ribbed pattern like won't be even, I don't know. I'd have to do that math to make sure I'm right about that. But there's either 52 or 56 stitches in these socks. So I thought, okay, let's go to 48 and see what happens, but I'm gonna go up a needle size. So I went to a size 3. I used Knit Pick Stroll and Dove Heather and Aurora Heather. So a dark green and then this like light dove gray. For the heels, toes, and cuffs, I used the purpley pinky one is the Farmer's Daughter Sock Squad from March. It was like a pinky purple variegated 80/20 base with a bright kind of mustardy yellow mini. I used them together. I regret that. Some people's looked great. Mine did not look great. I didn't use them well. The purpley pink did not go with the mustard in the way that I used them together. But anyway, I used them and I had a lot of leftover of that pinky purple. And then the heel, the other color I marled it with is, where is it? I've got some here. This kind of red, white, and blue. I think this is 100% wool. It's definitely a sock twist yarn, but I think it's 100% wool. It's high twist again. No, it's like at least 4 plies in here. It's about the thickness of a 75/25. It's very soft. I got it in Toronto like 3 years ago. I don't know. I was planning on making socks with it or mittens or something. It wouldn't have been good mittens. Let's be honest. It was when I was making all those fingering weight mittens, but this wouldn't have been a good base because it's too variegated. Never used it for socks, but I wound it, so I lost the tag. Typical. I used to do that a lot. I don't do that anymore. But anyway, it went great. I had a whole 100 gram skein of this, and I weighed it, and there was more like 102 grams. I used about, okay, and I weighed the purple. I had 26 grams of the purple left, and I had, I don't know, 102 grams of this variegated one. I used under that. I used like 18 grams of purple. No, not even. I used like 13 grams of purple in heels, toes, and cuffs for all 2 socks. I haven't trimmed the ends. These I did block, but again, I don't trim. I try not to trim the ends until they're blocked, so that the ends can kind of settle, and then I can clip them afterwards, and they won't wiggle around as much when they're out of the bath. Yeah, these are okay. Also too big. These were also just, the needle size was a little too big, and I don't know. I thought the yarn was really thin. I should just go up a needle size. Okay, so this is about a saga about me deciding what's the best sock construction, what's the best stitch count, what's the best needle size, what's the best, again, heel construction. Okay, attempt 3. I got the first one done. Second one's, I'm working on the toe, and then I've got it cut in the heel. I tried an afterthought heel. I've done afterthought heels a couple of times before. I like the construction of an afterthought heel. It worries me to actually do the afterthought heel because I'm always like, okay, that's not going to work. I'm just going to blow right through that. And that has happened. And the socks, I've never actually blown all the way through, but the socks where I've done an afterthought heel have definitely been like, they're definitely getting worn down on the heels. Again, you can replace that heel. That's not as big of an issue with an afterthought heel. And that's actually one of the pros of an afterthought heel. The con is that it can put a lot of stress on these stitches. And I thought, okay, it's ribbed. That's not going to make as much of a difference. And I was right. This is fine. I'm not terrified it's going to blow right through. It's also like, it's 2 strands of yarn. Again, I don't know if this is what I used for the entire base color of the sock. Heels, toes, cuffs, body, everything has this. Everything's marled with this. So that, I don't think this has nylon in it, but the red does. So here's how I did this. This is the second one. It's almost done. But again, there's no heel yet. The heel is going to get cut in. The reason I did this top or, cuff down was because I wanted to see, how many rows I needed for the heel. It didn't end up mattering because this is too big for my foot. I just went till the end of this gray, until the gray ran out. But you know, I just thought, okay, I'm gonna see what happens. I like to do it cuff down to then know how to do it toe up. Just see, you know, how many, whatever. Okay, so this worked. So the way that I did this was that I had the red. I liked the red. Here's the red. I dyed this last year. It's just a sock, 80/20 sock red. That's not a speck of white. No, that's just a piece of hay. It was a really deep, beautiful kind of cherry red that I loved. I was gonna make socks, but then I ended up making a soldotna, 2 soldotna tops. One of them was like gray. The base was this gray. I mean, it's marled into here, but that's the gray. This dark gray. That was the body. And then the kind of collar area and a bunch of the color work up here in the yoke was this cherry red. And then there was some lavender and some light gray. I made it for my neighbor Margie, who rocks it. She looks amazing in it. And I'll attach in the show notes, I'll put the pattern page for that if you want to see it. And then I did another soldotna for someone else I know, that was a purple base. And I had another 50-gram skein of this red. So it was like a dark purple base with blue, light gray. The kind of yoke main color was the light blue. And then this red was one of the pops. It was like the big arrows kind of thing. And then some of the polka dots were red. And that was, again, I'll put them both of those project pages in the show notes. So I used that cherry red for this too, for the pop. But I didn't use very much of the second 50-gram skein. And I had a bunch left. So I was like, okay, there's definitely enough for heels, toes, and cuffs of a DK sock. This cherry red here, here, and here. And it goes really well with this because there's red in the, as you can see, the red in the variegated skein that I used. So the other colors, I grabbed things that I had like 15 grams or less of. So this brown, it's a brown, that was a 10-gram mini. I divided it into 2. The blue was probably a 20-gram mini that I'd used part of. I think it was for one of the soldotnas actually. It was a 50-gram skein and I just had like 13 grams left. That was the second one. And then this gray, so it was the third. And so I divided each of them by weight in half, and they're pretty much exact. There's pretty much exactly the same number of rounds per, yeah. So that worked. I did it like smallest, medium, largest minis. And the cut and heel works here because it doesn't really disturb the flow of color at all. You just kind of do it right after you. So I did the ribbing all the way around, and then I started knitting the bottom, the second half of the stitches on the, you know, it's magic loop style. So on needle 2, I was knitting all the stitches, doing the rib pattern there, knitting them on the back, and you can see there. And I've got the markers for the heel round. I do this, the thing where you put the markers on every 10 rounds. And then you transfer them on the second sock, so you know how many more rounds you have to do. Yeah, I do that. I think that's useful. It really helps with like understanding how far in a sock you've gotten. Anyway, okay, so this is number 3. So I think I've decided for number 4, we're gonna see how this goes. Oh, and I went back down to a 2.5 for this. So I really did a very different approach. I'm kind of swinging too far in the other direction, I think, with my corrections. So next time, okay, so this is 2.5, size 2.5, US 2.5, which is metric. It's on the needle, right? Oh, I know you're on there. Metric 3.0 millimeter needle. Okay, 3 millimeter needle. Most people use a US 3, which I think is 3.25 millimeters. Yeah, I think so. I'm not great with the metric measurements. Afterthought heel, again I did, okay, this is 10 round cuff, 40 round leg, and then I just knit until I ran out of the gray yarn, which was, this will probably fit about a woman's 8.5 foot. How many are there after the heel? 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, there's like 63 to 65 rounds of foot, I think. And then the square toe, and in case you've never done an afterthought heel, I'm gonna attach a tutorial from, is it Kirby Werby? Yeah, she has a great tutorial down there in the show notes, down below in the box. you do it exactly like you do a toe. It's exactly the same construction, which makes it easy. A round toe. So, or no, a wedge toe. How do you, yeah. It's a wedge. It's you decrease on either side of the front. Yeah, like that. You can see the heel has the exact same shape as the toe, just like that. So there they are, side by side. They're exactly the same, which makes it easy. And then you just Kitchener this heel together when you get to like the last 8 stitches. So there's not too much different. I mean, you don't do any different techniques for a DK sock. It's just the numbers, like my heel turn. You know, I do obviously fewer stitches on the flap than I would on a regular fingering weight sock. And then when I'm doing the turn, I want it like 8 stitches on either side for the first turn, probably, instead of 10. And then the toe, I go all the way down to 8 stitches when I'm Kitchenering. That's just a very brief overview. I would recommend a pattern if you're a little apprehensive. I would recommend like the Crazy Sock Ladies DK Weight Vanilla Sock pattern. She's pretty thorough and she knows what she's doing. Like I could write a pattern. I'm just saying, like, there's so many more people who already have done that. But I recommend the Thicksgiving socks by Summer Lee because I liked the ribbed. There's also a cabled version and there's a plain vanilla version, which is just knitting all of it, except the cuff. Okay, so next up, I've basically been doing this every night before I go to bed for like an hour. So it doesn't take very long. And I think that everyone's going to get these as gifts this year because they're easy. They're good slipper socks. They're very cozy. They're soft. You know, what's not to love? It's harder to blow through a heel because there's 2 strands of yarn. You can duplicate stitch it if you do. No big deal. Okay. So this one's going to get done later tonight, probably. On the foot just needs, or on the toe, that just needs to be finished. Okay, so I'm gonna put these all here. I think I've been doing a good job looking actually into the camera today. I would like you to know that I'm proud of myself. Okay, so I try not to go overboard. I've really tried to stop buying so much yarn because I have a lot. But I was like, I don't want to use my nice sock yarn for DK socks because I want to use those for real socks because I do knit socks a lot. I'm always knitting 2 to 4 pairs of socks at once. I always have some socks on the needles. I will knit with all that yarn eventually. So I thought, but I loved knitting with the Knit Picks Stroll. I thought that was a delight. That's very soft. And I think if I go down a needle size, they'll fit really well. Again, these are a little just too big. I think that's the needle, not the yarn. And then the 80/20 is quite thick on the heels and toes and stuff. So these are still a little damp. These have been on the blockers. Anyway, okay, so the next time I do it, it's gonna be 2.5, size 2.5 needle, heel flap and gusset, 48 stitches. So this I did on a 2.5 needle with a heel flap and gusset, but I did 54, 56, whatever stitches. So it's this sock with fewer stitches, this exact one. Okay, so I got a box of yarn. I just decided to order some from Knit Picks because it's pretty inexpensive. And they were having 20% off sale, so it was hard to say no. So one thing that I'm going to try next, which I'm excited about because the variegated thing was fun, like the variegated yarn against different background colors. That was fun. It looks interesting and good. Okay, so I got a bunch of Felici and just like 3 or 4 of these bare hanks of Felici. Felici is the 75/25 base from Knit Picks. I don't know if it's the same as Stroll. I got some Stroll too. It basically feels the same as Stroll. It's the same fiber content. They're both 75/25. This has 231 yards and this has 436 yards. So this, I guess Stroll has a little bit more yardage than Felici. Let's see what okay, yeah, Felici's 218 yards per 50 grams gain. And this is Stroll is 231. So you got like just over 10, you got 13 more yards in a skein of this, but that's not that much. So they don't have bare Stroll. So I got bare Felici. If you never bought bare yarn, it's usually, they have it for dyeing. I could dye this. I have a dye kitchen, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm done with dyeing for the year, the calendar year. So I thought it would be fun to get the white and then get some self-striping and see what happens. Because you'll really only need one 50-gram skein to make a pair of socks, at least for women, especially if you do the heels, toes, and cuffs in a different color. One of the reasons I wanted to try the toe up method was to see how long I could go in a women's sock, like, because then you can really use all your yarn more effectively. Yeah, I think I would pair that with like a navy and white heel and toe and cuff. I don't know. Maybe I could do a plum. I could do the red. I have a West Yorkshire Spinners in Cayenne, which is like pretty much that same red. It's for heels and toes for like the Christmas socks. And I have a ball of that somewhere. So there's that one. I got this one. This one's called Vampire Vibes. I was watching, what's her name? Knit All the Yarn podcast. I like her channel. I think she's fun. She knits a lot of self-striping socks. These are special reserve Felici, by the way. Felici only does the self-striping once a year. This one's base jump. So you got the orange and then the kind of blues and grays, which is fun. Again, you could do blue heels, toes. I have another West Yorkshire Spinners in the blue. What's it called? I think it's one of the Spice Rack ones, but it's blue. Maybe it's a bird. Maybe it's Blue Jay. Yeah, it is Blue Jay. I think it's a bird. Country Birds. I love their collections. They just came out with a new collection with in conjunction with some designer. Her name is Xandra something. I don't know who she is. I think she's from the UK, which is where they make West Yorkshire Spinners, obviously. But it looks cool. It's really different. Some of them were self-striping. Some of them were just like totally variegated. Some of them were kind of like patterned. I like that West Yorkshire Spinners doesn't just have one thing that they do. They have, I should have brought some. I have some of the self-striping. They have like the birds, which have like the patterns on some of the stripes and then like stripes on some of them. They have like fully self-striping. They have like the flower collection, which is like kind of like white with a color that's like somewhat evenly distributed, but not totally. So you get this kind of cool effect. Anyway, this one's base jump. And then I got one more. This is called Under the Sea. So we'll see how that knits up. I think it's going to be really fun. I like self-striping yarn and I really like knitting these DK socks. So I think this might be the perfect marriage. And these aren't that expensive. I mean, for self-striping yarn, you know, it's like $7 for one of these. That's not that bad when you think about it. It's got a lot of nylon. It's probably pretty hard wearing. You could even do this with like Patton's Croy. Patton's Croy is also like $6 or $7 for a ball. So not bad. Felici fingering weight with the white. Yeah, this could be fun. Also, there's blues in there. Do blue for a heel toe cuff situation. So I got a bunch of white just so that, because I have a lot of like, you know, 50-gram half skein leftover things from other socks that especially if I use a mini for the heels, toes, and cuffs, I have either 50 grams or almost 50 grams left. So yeah, it's good to just have the white to hold double with pretty much anything. And with white, it's also easier to hold a bunch of mini skeins double. Like you can just divide each mini skein. You probably need like 3 or 4, maybe 4, maybe 5, including heels, toes, and cuffs. Hard to say. I don't know. It depends on how big the mini is. 10 or 20 grams or random bits and bobs. Anyway, I think this is a good way to use up my sock scraps. So I got the Felici, and then I got the stroll. I liked the stroll, so I got some more. Let's see if I can find oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So I got 2 more Dove Heathers. I like Dove Heather. I think it's a nice gray. And then got some Holly Berry. I like this red, pretty red. Holly Berry, ash. This is just a plain gray. Got navy. Well, I got black. This is plain black. And then I got navy and frost, which are 2 navy blue, and then this like light blue. Thought those would go nice together. And again, these are not that expensive. I kind of just thought it would be fun to experiment with these DK socks and find the best method. Then after I solved the puzzle of the best recipe for a women's DK sock. It's going to be to solve the puzzle for the recipe for the best men's DK sock. So I'll get back to you on that. But I'm enjoying I'm enjoying it. It goes really quick. It takes like a week. If I knit an hour before bed on these, it takes like a week to make a pair of socks, which is really not that much time for a pair of socks in total. It would take me double that long to make the fingering weight socks. So yeah, I think the self-striping is going to be my first go. I think that's it for the DK socks. You can't see it, but I am surrounded by yarn and socks right now. So this has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.